Call to order the St. Joseph City Council meeting of Monday, June 6th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, shoot, wait. Item 2, public comments. Anybody wishing to address the council on items not on the agenda, please come on forward. John, it's your turn. Sorry, man, I knew you were sitting back there.
I've got a bad liver problems, and I've been verbal abused, and him cussing at me and all that. His dogs are trapping on my
Hey,
land.
John,
and
name and address, please.
817 East Table Street.
Thank you.
Speaking to the speaker.
And
Thank you, Bob. I can't hear you very well. If you could speak into your microphone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Okay, Saturday night, I was working on my sprinklers. Here his dog comes, right behind me, ready to attack, the way it seemed like, and he called it off. Then when I got home, I got halfway down to my house, he started cussing, using the F word, and he told me that I shouldn't harass his wife, and I only talked to her once, and that was when the dog crapped. He seen the dog crap at 6:30 in the morning. At 4 o'clock, I walked over there and still had crap with her laying, and she came out of the house, and I said, "Would you mind picking up the crap that your dog just let?" And that's what he was mad about it. He started swearing at me about it. That's what I got for right now. But I think it's gonna keep on going until you get the dogs, let how long does the crap is gonna lay on the ground before you pick it up? Because with this your dog, I noticed it was about a week the crap was laying there. And why is that it sit that long? Another thing, all that urine that's being way on that from the two dogs, and the kids are playing in it. There should be something done about that too. Because they could get disease from the people, from the kids walking in it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anyone else wishing to address the council on items not on the agenda? See no one come forward, we'll move on. If I can find my place. Item 3, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. Roll call, please, Kelly.
Kayla, not Kelly.
Oh, you did that on
Sorry.
purpose, didn't you? You did that. That's
I got myself unmuted. Sorry about that.
No. Councilmember Beniak,
Yes,
Councilmember
I am.
Loso,
I am present at Starbucks in Florida, Stuart, Florida.
She already said yes, so who's next?
Councilmember Loso,
Yes.
Councilmember Hazen,
Here.
Mayor Schultz.
Aye. So the reason we're doing roll call is because we have a remote counselor in a public place, and because of the new rules after COVID, we can't just do a voice vote or a hand vote. It has to go through roll call. So anyway, that was item 3. Item 4, consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second on the consent agenda. Any issues or concerns, anyone?
I I just got one question on the squad.
You wanna pull it or just?
No, I just curious on,
Okay.
it was repainted and all that? I wasn't aware of that we were gonna do that.
Correct, they're painted back to all original color to get a better resale out of them.
Okay. And do you know what that costs by any chance?
Off the top of my head, no. I'm thinking, don't quote me on it, but I think it was around $1,800.
Okay.
That includes painting the four doors, the roof, which we're no longer painting on any of our new cars. That was under previous chiefs, so it's a lot less invasive. And that was welding all the holes shut and cleaning it all up.
Okay.
For all of our new cars that we're having done, we're only painting them from the door windows down. And so CMS said it'll be significantly less, but we're just having to get out from previous practice.
Okay. All right, just curious.
Any other questions or concerns? Motion and second on consent.
All
Roll
right.
call, please.
Councilmember Beniak,
Kelly, that's you.
Sorry, it's hard to unmute. I should just stay. Yes.
Councilmember Loso,
Yay.
Councilmember Hazen,
Yay.
and Mayor Schultz.
Aye. Item 5, public hearing, Trobix bus tax abatement.
Yeah, so in 2019, the city council had approved tax abatement agreement for Trobex Bus Company, and the project was put on hold. The project is now moving forward. Trobex, they had readjusted where they were gonna locate the facility a little bit further south. They are proposing to build just over 108,000 square foot facility, which will include bus storage, offices, garage space, wash bay. It'll include a paid parking lot, and they are requesting tax abatement from the city for a term of 7 years, in the amount of $676,000. Excuse me, $676,220. The EDA at their last meeting did review the request, and they are recommending approval of the tax abatement agreement as presented. This does require a public hearing, and so before you tonight is consideration to adopt Resolution 2022-030, and that would be rescinding the original tax abatement from 2019 and then authorizing and approving the new tax abatement agreement. The applicants are here this evening as well.
Thank you. So that being said, we're gonna open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to address the city council on the tax abatement for Trobix? Podium, name, address. Don't you guys wanna talk? Just kidding around. Okay, seeing no one come forward, we're gonna close the public hearing and then move to Resolution 2022-30.
Second.
Well, I'll move to adopt resolution 2022-030, rescinding the resolution 2019-61 and approving property tax abatement, proposed granting of the business subsidy, and authorizing execution of the tax abatement agreement.
Second.
I second it.
Either one of you, it's all good. We got 2 seconds, one first, and a bunch of other things. Motion and second, Resolution 2022 and 30, all those things it said right there. Questions or concerns? All those, sorry, Kelly, Kayla? You got me all confused now.
Councilmember Beniak,
Aye.
Councilmember Loso,
Yay.
Councilmember Hazen,
Aye.
Mayor Schultz.
Aye, motion prevails. Thank you all. You guys can leave now if you want. You don't have to hang around. So I don't get any more confusion than I already am. All right, item 6. Right,
Mayor,
public hearing on 2022. Oh, yeah, say, Mayor, yeah, Kelly?
I just wanted, as we're going into number 6, we're doing the public hearing of 2022 street improvement projects assessment and hearing. I will need to recluse myself in this one.
Are you sure we didn't do the, we're not doing
Isn't
this,
this-
we're not doing the option A.
Isn't this, oh,
Right?
okay, I thought
Yeah,
this was the
we're not doing the
street.
special option A, so that doesn't, you should be able to participate as well.
Oh, perfect. All right,
we-
thank you.
We didn't go with that, we turned down that motion last time, right? Okay. Very good, so, now
Thank
we're
you.
looking at public hearing 22, street improvement project assessment. And who's gonna run with this one right away? Yeah, anytime, sorry, Scott.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Scott. I'm with SCH. Thank you. I'm replacing or substituting Randy Sabart this evening. He wasn't able to attend. With me, I've got Jennifer Schmitz. Jennifer is our lead designer, and she did the project plan. So if we got any technical questions, Jennifer's there to help me out. We're here tonight to conduct a special assessment hearing with the final costs for the 2022 street improvement project. We'll do a few things. We're going to review the project costs. We're going to talk about the assessments and the methodology, and then we'll answer any questions that may come about. Following my presentation, the council will consider adoption of the assessments. And if they adopt the assessments, they will consider an award of the project. And we'll talk about schedules and the like as we go. All right, the project locations are listed above there. I'm gonna go to the map, which shows them as well. So just for the record, we are talking about First Avenue Northwest. We're talking about the intersection at Pearl Drive, Blatzer Drive, and 340th Street. We're talking about Baker Street, thank you. 17th Avenue South, 18th Avenue Southeast, 17th Avenue Southeast, and 4th Avenue Southeast, Faith Lane, Graceview Drive, and Graceview Loop, and then the cul-de-sac at Ellie Court. We'll review the project costs. There's two columns there. The first column is the project as estimated back in December and January when the when the feasibility study was finished. And then the proposed costs, which include the project bid and any updated information. So as you can see, the construction number went up a little bit, $30,000. Now, based on the cost we've seen and the difficulty we've seen in the bidding process over the last 6 months, I would call this just without digging into deep, a pretty good bid because it's right near where we had originally estimated. We were able to reduce the contingency, and we're able to reduce the contingency because there's just less unknowns. When there's less unknowns, you can reduce that, and we're just keeping a small amount to handle anything that may come up in the course of the construction. The other thing I'd like to point out here would be the soil borings. We did not do any soil borings. We were able to use data from adjacent projects, adjacent property, and therefore didn't need to commission any new geotechnical information. These are those same costs, but broken up into those groups that I mentioned before, with the Graceview Estates, 17th, 18th, and Baker, First Avenue Northwest, and then the intersection. And you can see there's been some variation with the majority of that added cost in that 17th, 18th range. But overall, the project, again, that's that $30,000 difference from the estimate to the proposed costs. And what we'll see, though, is as we look at the assessments, the overall assessment amount did go down, and we'll talk about that.
It would be part of the Graceview Estates.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, this sheet talks about the project funding. The top group of numbers is related to the initial estimate, and then the bottom group of numbers relates to the feasibility, or the assessment as we're talking about it, adoption right now. As you can see from this group, the initial estimate as far as assessments would be about 50.5% assessed to adjacent property owners, with the city to cover 49.5%. As we've done the calculation, and we'll get into some more detail related to that, get my notes. The final assessment total on a gross basis is 44.2%, and the city subsidy would be in the 55.8%. The amount assessed to benefiting property owners is at $348,461. All right, we'll talk a bit about how the special assessment process works, and we'll get into some of the numbers related to that. The city assesses the value of the benefit of the improvement to the adjacent or benefiting properties. And this is the Minnesota Statute 429, which allows this process to occur. This essentially allows that balance of cost and benefit to property owners against the value provided to the city at large. So to confirm the value of the benefit, the city has commissioned, and they've done this, I understand, for many projects, a special assessment benefits report where a third party reviews the properties, reviews the projects, and is able through their experience to determine what the maximum assessment should be to a specific type of property. And we've used this to adjust the assessments, and that's report. Now there's another part, and we'll get into that, that it would also limit your assessment. We'll get into that in the next sheet. But you can see based on the property type, that is the cap for that benefit. Now, so while that's the cap from the report, there's also another policy cap in which the city uses. For an overlay or a reconstruction, the city has a policy of a maximum of 60% of the cost to the benefiting property, and the city would cover the remaining 40%. For new streets, that would be 100% assessed, but that's not what we're working with today. So you've got two things. You either got the cap from the assessment report, or you got the 60%. So one of those are going to limit what the assessment is to each parcel. So as we saw in the previous slide, the overall assessed amount is 44.2%, with the city covering that 55.8%. Now, how we assess projects for a surface improvement like this is on a frontage or a linear foot basis. So frontage, essentially what that is, if you've got an interior lot, non-corner lot, just a regular rectangular lot, it's going to be 100% of your lot width adjacent to the property. If you have a rectangular lot, and a rectangular corner lot, the policy is to assess 100% of the short side and 50% of the long side. A regular lot, say on a cul-de-sac, that's 100% of the average width. Typically, that's at the right-of-way line, is how those are assigned. A little bit more information on this assessment. The city is proposing a 10-year term for the special assessment and a 5% interest rate. Now, there's a couple things you can do to avoid any interest. If you pay your special assessment within 30 days of the adoption, so let's assume it's adopted tonight, you'd have till July 6th of 2022. You could pay off the lump sum without any interest calculation. If it's adopted and we go beyond July 6th, the first installments will come in the 2023 tax statements from the county, but the interest clock will be running as of July 6th. A little more. All right, so interest accrues for the next year on December 31st of the previous year. So the 2023 interest will accrue on December 31st of 2022. So meaning if you pay your amount on January 2nd, you will be paying the full assessment or full interest amount for the 2023. It's simple interest. It's 5%. It's not compounded monthly or any of that, but it is accrued on the end of the previous year. Now, because the counties need to deal with potential payments and then calculating the interest by the end of the year, there is another date. So if you do not want to pay 2023's interest, you must pay off by November 15th of that previous year. Again, that's a statute that just allows the counties some time to process all those requests. You can prepay. Any amount you prepay, that just comes off the balance, and again, the interest rate would not be calculated on that remaining amount, provided you're still subject to those the December 31st and November 15th dates. All
Can I
right,
clarify that?
please.
On your screen, you have you could partially prepay. After July 6th, the only option is either you prepay the entire amount or you just let it ride on your property taxes. You cannot partially prepay after that point.
Thank you.
And it's a county rule. They can't separate that out in their software. So if you're looking at prepaying, and you could prepay partially now and through July 6th if you wish. It's just after that date. It has to be paid in full if you're going to pay off the assessment.
Thank you. There's a couple special classes that come into play. If you're a senior, if you're disabled, or if you're on active duty, you've got the ability, if the assessment is over $3,000, you've got the ability to request a deferral. There is a process. The city has the forms. It will include a financial disclosure. The application date is 30 days after the assessment. So again, that's that July 6th date. And then the city council will make the determination to grant or deny. Interest does still accrue during that deferment period. And now we'll get into some of the numbers. These are on the frontage linear foot basis, and these show the 60% rate. Again, so all these are applied then with the either the cap from the benefit report or the 60% report when you just look at your individual assessment. There's an example here of how that's reached. It's very simple. So you got your length and then your 65-foot lot and your $29.45 per linear foot, and that's how you'd calculate that assessment. For the 36, the 24 would be similar. If you're on a corner, that shows the short side at 100% and the long side at 50%. I won't dig into those numbers too much. We'll talk about schedule. Feasibility study and the improvement hearing were ordered in December. The public improvement hearing was in January. Bid opening in April. Review the bids in May, which set this meeting. We are at the special assessment hearing, which will set the final assessments for the project. Provided the city approves the assessments, they will then be able to consider an award of the project. Provided those two things happen, we will set a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. We expect that to start, if it moves forward, mid-July, late July, completion this fall, middle of October. That would be, we say substantially complete, what we mean is that will be paved. It'll be put back in service, paved. There may be some landscaping or something that would follow on for completion the following spring. With that, Mr. Mayor, that takes me to questions.
Very good, and I think rather than opening questions, we'll open up the public hearing so that anybody may address and go through the question and answer period. That being said, thank you, Scott. We will open the public hearing, so anybody wishing to address council and staff on the final adopting of the final assessment, please come forward to the podium, name, address, and any questions or concerns.
Jack Pelliver, 28 17th Avenue Southeast. I'm just wondering, why are we doing our road again? I mean, we went and did it when we annexed into the city, and the SEH, they went and goofed up on their, and they hauled out all of our gravel, and then they were gonna blacktop it, and it was 16 inches down. So they hauled 16 inches of gravel in there. We got a 20-ton road in that, on our street. And, you know, we had to pay extra $45,000 for that gravel to be hauled back in. Each one of us got assessed a little bit more. So I think it's a bunch of crap. Our road looks fine. There ain't nothing wrong with it. So, I think it's just a bunch of crap how you guys spend our money all the time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mark Bjorky, 518 Ellie Court. If I noticed right on your presentation, it's just the end of Ellie Court with the bulb at the end?
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct.
Another question. In your letter, there will say, it says there are street resurfacing and pedestrian ADA improvements. What are those? What is a pedestrian ADA improvement?
Scott, you wanna?
Typically, those are the pedestrian ramps, anything we need. ADA means American Disability Act.
Okay.
So it's ped ramps, sidewalks that maybe have a sloping issue.
We
Those are
have-
things that are typically, those are not assessed. Those are covered by the city.
Okay, all right.
It's just cutouts in the curb so they can access sidewalk and those
Okay,
things.
yeah, we don't have a sidewalk.
Okay.
So. The 65-year-old deferment, how long can that be deferred?
Lori?
There is no term, but if you would sell your home, move out, then it would
Okay.
become due and payable.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Glenn Faber, 17th Avenue Southeast. I would like to know how these projects are decided, when you come and look at these streets. Because I mean, if you walk from downtown to the other end where our street is, on the sidewalks, you can't, there's sidewalks that are jumped up this high. I mean, you got elderly people walking down these streets and people that are trying to walk their kids on with carts and stuff, and you wanna tear up a perfectly good street? Makes no sense to me at all. Whether it's just putting a topping over it, I mean, fix the ones that need to be fixed, ours is fine. That's all I got. There's a lot more things that can be fixed in the city than damn streets that are perfectly fine.
You wanna talk about street improvement plan?
Yeah, so back in, was it 2017, SEH conducted a street improvement plan. So they went around and they assessed every street in the city. So your road may appear fine now, it may look fine, but if we don't put a cap on that road, in 5 to 8 years, it's gonna be alligatored, it's gonna be all cracked up, and then we have to do a complete project. We'll have to take your road up, we'll have to take the subfill back out, put new subfill in. So, the 2017 street maintenance plan is a recipe, to put it in layman's terms, it's a recipe to get the longest life out of your street that we absolutely can, for the least amount of money.
Can you show my screen again? got a slide that will help explain kind of why now.
Okay.
It's a slide you saw at the public improvement hearing. Back live.
Bad internet.
Huh? No luck. Okay. Without
Yeah,
the
the
slide.
pictures.
The roads, you know, I'm gonna use my hands, so the life cycle of the road, time versus, you know, what's the pavement condition. Starts new, and as it stays new, and as time goes, it starts to go down. It goes down faster as it gets worse. So the goal is, what we do is as that road starts to get into that steeper part of the curve, you either, up here you could seal coat, but typically we would overlay, extend it out, and then it would, you know, just trying to lengthen the time at which the streets does not need a full rebuild. That's what Public Works was talking about, is the overlay is to the mill edge mill and overlays to just lengthen that time before you need that costly overlay. I'd compare it to maybe, you know, your shingles. You would do maybe a sealer on your shingles or other things on your roof, but you're trying to, or even ultimately you're gonna replace the shingles from your roof before you've got problems with the underlayment because you've got, you let that get too old. So that drawing would be helpful, but we're having trouble with the okay. So that's the goal. The goal is to spend the least amount of money to lengthen out the overall lifespan of the streets.
Okay, okay. While he tries to bring up that picture, does anybody else like to speak to the council? Yeah, absolutely. Name and address, please.
Pat Meyer, 245 4th Avenue South. And I sit at the intersection of Callaway and 4th. My side of the street is, the assessment is $4,000, but you aren't addressing any of the problems of that corner. You're just overlaying the road, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we're
Got-
overlaying 4th Avenue.
Because right now, the water comes down from the other side, it doesn't go around the corner all the way, so it builds up in my driveway, okay? It builds up, and it doesn't go around, so you get all this mess every time in the spring or anytime there's snow or anytime anything. Also, because the angle of the corner there, coming around this way, you know, from 4th down to Callaway, that angle is so wide, people come through there very quickly. Whoa, they're way over in the other lane all the time. There is no marking on there to say, stay on this side, they don't slow down. That's a problem. But also, the drain is right there for the water and stuff. There is no drain coming all the way down that hill. There's not one coming from here. It goes by all the stuff, it goes all the way down there. So all the water from Callaway this way and the other direction is down there every spring. So I go and I dig out the, whatever you call it, grate.
Yep, catch basin.
But
Yeah.
because the city snowplow does the same thing as the drivers, they go 6 feet from the edge. So in order to get that out, I gotta go do all that. That corner is terrible, that nobody's doing anything to address all these issues. I'm out there, and anybody that knows, then comes by or has talked to me, knows that I'm constantly out there trying to clean that up. I do it because it fills my driveway. But I shouldn't have to do that. It should be the city. I have been into the city. I've talked to them. They don't deal with it. So it's not a right-angled corner. People go too fast. And then when you take a look at what you're putting in here next, and you're supposed to be putting in handicap stuff, it's not accessible. Yes, that's true. It's not gonna be any improvement by the mess that's there. So nobody has reassessed that whole corner as to what it is. So if you're gonna be redoing something, you should be reassessing it. Although I don't wanna pay all that. Right now, mine is already $4,000, which is probably more than most everybody else is paying for what they have.
And that is the capped amount there. Mr. Mayor, we will, so we're doing an
And it's also your angles in lower and upper. That's why it comes down, then it goes up on the corner. So I've got that corner to try and deal with.
So it must be
But the city doesn't plow close to the edge because it's so different size. So the snowplow, he likes to make that same round corner that the people driving it do.
There is a concrete ADA improvement in that intersection. I'm just talking with Jennifer here, there might be ability to at least look at something related to that curb and gutter that could help that a bit. We'll go and look at that.
Yeah, I know we did some surveys at some other streets, so we should probably, I know where the grates are, they're on Callaway, east and west.
Yeah.
Nothing on north and south fourth, so
We can also look at the curb grade
maybe there's a
coming
spillway
from
or
the
something?
driveway.
Or, I don't know, okay. Well,
I got my screen back.
okay. Oh, for the life cycle, okay.
So what that shows us is this is a typical life cycle, the black line of a paved street. One could say, this is 0, what is this? This 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, it depends on the street. But the point we want to show is as this deterioration happens, we get to this point, we can overlay and then extend the project along, or the street life along, and that's the goal, to push the point at which you would need to do a restoration, a rebuild out.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Why didn't we, do any soil bores out there?
We mentioned that
Yeah,
at the
but
beginning.
most of you guys were on the council. I think Bob was the only one that was on there
Yep.
when we went and had to deal with that when we had that gravel hauled in. And why ain't the guy that was out there doing the work? Why didn't he show up to the meeting today?
Mr. Sabart,
Yeah,
he's occupied, he has another commitment.
yeah, well, he just gets out of he was there and he.
If Randy could be here, he'd be here,
well,
and he's not here tonight. You're dealing with Scott, what's your question?
I'm just wondering why they are doing it.
And so we talked about soil borings.
Yeah, but it's just like talking to a wall.
Well, we can bring it up again.
You know, we look at ways to save money,
Yeah.
obviously, and not do work that isn't necessary. And on these streets, we had adequate information from adjacent projects.
But he never admitted that he was wrong when I stopped the project that time. There were 16 inches low on that. They were gonna blacktop it.
Couldn't have been Randy.
And I stopped the project. And that was when Hemans was, mayor.
Mayor, yeah. That wasn't Randy, though, that was
If I may
Joe
interject?
Bettendorf. That wasn't Randy Sabart, it was Joe Bettendorf, wasn't it?
Correct,
it was
Mayor,
Joe.
correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, that was quite a while ago. Yeah. I mean, I don't know the time when they last did 17th. That's probably historically, I mean, it's been probably 20 years or 30 years.
1998.
1998, that's the last time we did 17th.
Yeah.
That's 24 years ago.
But
If I may
Again, I'm not
interject.
saying it isn't good or different, I'm just saying based on length of trying to keep the road available, our policy, and when it was last done, we can certainly do soil borings out there if you, I mean, if that's necessary.
If someone asks me how long should a city street last, I'm in that 20 to 30 range, and we're at 24 years, and we're not saying the street is not, or needs rehab. We're saying it needs an overlay to keep it longer in good shape.
Also, on the other side of 17th, there is a little bit of wear and tear. And how I understand it from Randy was that doing this is going to help hold the road better, if I'm saying this correctly. And so it is needed. I mean, looking at it and being able to, and that is correct, Randy wasn't the engineer at the time. And so I think Randy has explained it quite beautifully in the sense of being able to keep these roads in a better position so that the city can last longer. Otherwise, we would be paying more to be able to put curb and gutter and those kind of items. And so to do this overlay, it's giving us, hopefully, is what Randy said, another 20, 25 years on it. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, Kelly, that's good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Sharon Muller, 521 Gracefield Drive. I keep hearing about the pavement, and I'm wondering if the crumbling concrete curbs are also going to be repaired.
Is that Jen?
Yeah, there's spot repair, curb and gutter, and also any ped ramps. So our staff did go out and identify curb sections that need replacement that were cracking or crumbling, and so there is spot repair. We can take a look at those areas for you.
Oh, great.
So
Thank you.
they're spot repairs, so they're gonna be segments,
Right.
whatever they would need. So the majority of the
They
curb
don't
is gonna
all
stay
need
in
to be
place,
repaired,
yes.
But there are some where it's crumbling.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone? Very good. Do you want to make the announcement about written or oral objections? Okay, I will. So, I'm gonna close the public hearing as it states, no more information, unless there was somebody online. Sorry, I didn't check. Was there anybody online that wanted to speak? Okay, we're good. Thank you. So with that said, I'm gonna close the public hearing on this. I want to remind everybody here that written and oral objections will be considered at the meeting. No appeal to the district court may be taken to the amount of an assessment unless a written objection is signed by the affected property owners and is filled with the administrator prior to the assessment hearing or presented at the presiding officer at this hearing. So if you object to your assessment, you need to write something down and hand it to the administrator or me. I mean, I can ask city attorney, but I'm pretty sure that's right. If you object to it, then you have to present it tonight at the hearing before this hearing closes. Or orally say you object to it so that we can carry forward with whatever the due diligence is going forward. So by the end of the meeting tonight, or by the end of this hearing, you have to, again, object to the assessment in writing. Writing is the best. And then there's some other documents that you may have to fill out, so I'm just letting you know that.
Sue, could you kind of reiterate on that in a more, I mean, there's a 30-day filing period and all that other stuff.
Sure.
That's mentioned.
Set out by statute.
I couldn't hear what Bob said.
Sorry, Kelly, he was asking about the 30 days that's allowed by statute. Appeals.
Please turn on the mics. I can't hear.
Oh, there, sorry. Can
Thank
you hear me
you.
now? There's a process that's allowed by statute if you want to appeal from the assessment that the council adopts tonight. And step one is that you have to file a written objection here tonight regarding the assessment. And step two is you then have to appeal the assessment to district court. So you really should contact an attorney if you want to appeal, because it can be a rather confusing process, and as city attorney, I'm not here to counsel you on that. That's something you have to get private counsel to ask questions. But that's the basics of how to do an appeal. So a lot of you have made statements on the records, but you need to actually file a written objection with the council tonight, as well as then appeal within 30 days.
Okay, very good. Counselors? I did close the hearing.
Okay. Well, I will move to adopt resolution 2022-31, final assessment rule of the 2022 street improvement project.
I'll second.
Motion and second, resolution 2022-31, adopting final assessment. Roll call?
Is there any further discussion?
Oh, further discussion, sorry. Counselors, further discussion, my bad, good catch. Roll call.
The items that were brought up will be looked into by the engineering.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, roll call vote. Councilmember Beniak?
Yes.
Councilmember Loso?
Yay.
Councilmember Hazen?
Aye.
Mayor Schultz?
aye.
And then I will move to adopt resolution 2022-32, awarding the bid.
Second.
Motion and second, resolution 2022-32, awarding the bid. Further discussion or questions? Kayla?
Councilmember Beniak?
Yes.
Councilmember Loso?
Aye.
Councilmember Hazen?
Aye.
Mayor Schultz?
Aye. The motion prevails. Very good, thank you all. Item 7. Go tax abatement bonds.
I think that's me. So I'm working on the bonding this summer for the 2022 street improvements, along with adding an equipment certificate for the pumper tanker that we expect to be arriving in January. I'm putting it in this bond issue to save some money on some of the bonding costs, to lump it in together, and we're not anticipating another bond issue in January when the pumper tanker would arrive. The third part of the bond issue that I'm looking at is adding a portion of the community center, and only the portion that would be for what the city council already had earmarked with the local option sales tax money, up to $6 million. And the reason that I'm looking at doing that is splitting the community center into two pieces. If we do annually, we could only issue up to 10, well, we can issue more than 10 million, but to be bank qualified and to get a lower interest rate, we're capped at 10 million that we can issue in 1 year. So I'm looking at doing just the sales tax portion this year, and then after our capital campaign and we understand what the total project can be, then we could issue the second portion of it. When we use the type of bond that we do is a tax abatement bond for using this sort of funding revenue source. And with that, there's a process. We would call for a public hearing on the tax abatement, and that identifies parcels that we would earmark as tax abatement, but we're not using the taxes from those parcels. We're actually using local option sales tax or pledged agreements for next year. So, but on paper and by statute for this type of bonding authority, we need to hold a public hearing on those abatements for the parcels. And I'm looking at just doing one public hearing, so it would be the total amount that we can do tax abatement, which is up to 13 million, and that's based on the sales tax questions that were on the ballot in 2004 and 2012, I believe they were, that the community had approved. So the total that they would, that the sales tax question would allow was up to 13 million, so that's what we're proposing in the tax abatement piece. That does not mean, that does not hold you to that dollar amount for the actual issue. It's that we're identifying these parcels for this project. And instead of holding two different public hearings, we're looking at just doing one, and that was recommended by our bond council. And so before we have the first half of the bond issue, we need to host that public hearing. And so we're calling for the public hearing on July 5th, and then the timing would work out when we're doing the bond issue for the other two pieces of the projects, the other projects that we're gonna do with the bond issue. So again, we're trying to lump them together to save money on bonding costs and hold one public hearing because again, it'll reduce some costs like publications and that sort of thing as well. Any questions? I know it's kind of a lot of technical jargon.
We're not having a public hearing, we're calling for the public hearing.
Calling for the public hearing tonight.
Okay.
So there's a resolution to
Yep.
call for that public hearing, then the public hearing would be July 5th.
Yep, I see that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, resolution 2022-29, calling for a public hearing on July 5th. Other questions or concerns? I just have one, Lori. How does the Minnesota bonding come into play?
So I'm not gonna issue bonds for, city bonds for that. That's just a reimbursement request that we make to the state
Okay,
when we have expenditures that we can reimburse, which we do at this point with some of the design
okay,
pieces.
okay,
It's a submission
okay,
for reimbursement.
okay, very good. Thank you. Motion and second, 2022-49, calling for, 29, calling for public hearing. Roll call, please.
Yes, and I did get a message from Councilmember Beniak, and the power went out where they're at. They're getting some bad storms, so.
Sweet. I mean, whoops.
We'll move forward with the remaining. So Councilmember Loso,
Yay.
Councilmember Hazen,
Aye.
Mayor Schultz.
Aye, motion prevails. Moving right along. That's what happens when you go to Florida. Engineer reports. Oh, Randy is so good at that. Oh, he ducked out of that too. Committee updates. Do we have any committees since then, since the last meeting?
No.
I don't think
As a matter of
so.
fact, we wanted to ask the council if you would like to switch that. I know the idea was to have it the opposite of the staff reports, monthly reports, but it seems to make more sense to have it on the same night because of how the meetings are set, but that would be your call.
Whatever.
What's the question again?
So, for your first meeting of the month,
Yeah.
there's committee reports on the agenda. It's an opportunity for council members, whether it's planning commission, EDA,
Yeah.
fire board, for you to report on that. So it just seems like the timing is off.
Because normally we don't have meetings until like the third
So
meeting.
you like
Okay,
have
so,
your meeting next week, but we won't.
So yeah, let's do that. If that's okay.
Do it whatever way works.
Yeah, let's do it on the second
Yeah.
meeting, that works better. Okay, mayor reports, I have like 2 items here, if I can find my notes. So, there is a federal grant for electronic vehicle charging stations. It came through the APO like a month ago, and I've asked Brian Gibson, who's the APO director, to say, there's a grant available. How much is a local grant or not, and if it's 100% paid for or not, because we can put those, if we get the grant, we can put them on like the park and ride out on 94. I mean, if it's no cost to the city and we can get the grant, it seems like a pretty good solution. So we're gonna have some information this week from APO. So I had a couple of mayor meetings downtown. One, there was a complaint, not a complaint necessarily, but a concern about the amount of people traffic we have and the lack of control at the intersections.
At where again?
What?
Where did you say? At where? Just in general?
You mean my meetings?
No.
Oh, yeah, well, I can't, kind of all downtown intersections,
okay.
like at Ash and College and First Avenue, and so there just seems to be a general, and I think it's a good and bad problem to have. It's good that we have enough of people traffic, but it's bad that we're not paying more attention to like how we open up the intersection or how we have visibility for cars coming through and availability to walking across the intersections or make them more highlighted. So it's something we should address at a work session, at least how we're talking about doing we're talking about doing 75 in the crossings. We also need to talk about downtown crossings because it's becoming more and more people friendly all the time. That was one of the concerns. The other concern was about, a couple of people felt like we're losing our small town look and feel a little bit. We're becoming more of a bedroom community than we have in the past. Even with all the businesses, there's more people coming in and separating. And I didn't disagree with it, but at the same time, that's something that as staff and as council, we have to kind of start reaching out and get a little bit more than we have in the past. was good discussion, I do gotta say, but my biggest concern is people traffic. We have to start watching, especially when we have so many more businesses opening up in downtown, so. That is all I have. Any questions? Any questions for staff? Anybody? Any questions for Kelly? Oh, no, she's gone.
She disappeared?
She lost power,
Oh,
you know. Item 11.
I move to adjourn.
second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.